some of the funnest DIYs that I have made in a long time. I'm Jamie, the Crafty DIY guy. Welcome back to my channel. All right, everyone, for this DIY, we are going to take these nutcrackers. I love these nutcrackers so much. You're just going to want to look for the unfinished nutcrackers. And these, I would say, are about, I don't know, maybe a foot tall. You're going to also remove the wooden staff here. So grab any kind of shears or clippers or anything that you've got to go ahead and remove those. And we're going to put those aside. Now you're going to take some cocktail ornaments. You're going to want to look for the ornaments that have this hanger on the side. And you are going to go ahead and clip that off of there. I went ahead and just kind of used a pair of pliers here. These are glass, by the way, so you definitely want to be careful with them. You're going to see that I did end up kind of cutting myself, so just definitely be careful when you're working with these. Now, for this, I went ahead and just kind of scored where I was going to cut this, and then just very carefully kind of squeezed it, and it did kind of pop apart like so. Now, the idea here is that our nutcracker is going to be holding these cocktail glasses. So go ahead and just kind of drill out the hole, and then your cocktail should kind of fit down in between there. But before we do all that, I do want to paint these. So I took mine outside and I just kind of spray painted them this matte black color. And I really love the way that this turned out. And this is also one of the ornaments, by the way. I did have 3 of these ornaments in my kit. I only ended up using the 2 of them, but they turn out so fun. So you're just going to add a little bit of hot glue to the bottom and then to the top and just kind of sandwich them in his hands, kind of like so. You may need to trim the stems just a little bit. And then here you see me doing it with the blue cocktail as well, because I'm going to gift one of these to some friends of mine, and then I'm going to keep one of these for myself. This is such a fun idea. You can obviously spray paint your nutcrackers any color that you want. I did end up going back and adding some gold rub and buff on top of mine to give them kind of an aged vintage look, but how adorable are these? And then this is the blue one that I'm going to be keeping. This is on my bar. This is before the rub and buff, but so adorable. Now these, same exact nutcracker. Same exact nutcracker. You're going to do the same exact thing and remove those wooden staffs. Grab a pair of shears or clippers or anything that you have to go ahead and remove those. But with this one, you're going to take that staff and you're going to flip-flop it and make sure that that more ornate, kind of longer piece of the staff is kind of hanging at the bottom here. Now, this, unfortunately, I lost the footage here, but I took this wooden candle holder and just glued it at the top. I trimmed down that rod that was on the staff there and then just glued that on top of there with some regular woodworking glue. And then obviously took them outside and spray painted them this kind of bronze color. Now I'm going to take this rub and buff and we're just going to kind of rub and buff. And with this rub and buff, you really cannot go wrong with this. There's really no wrong way to do this, because as you're putting everything on, all you have to do is just continue to rub it and buff it. And literally you can use any kind of brush. You can use a sponge brush. You can use whatever you want. And you're just going to just kind of paint this on until you get this a color. How gorgeous is this? I'm obsessed with this. I love this so much. It looks so high-end, so fancy. I love the way my mantle turned out. I ended up shifting them to either side, and then I had those other nutcrackers that were just kind of there for decorative purposes and made sure that they were all kind of matched. I'm obsessed with the way that this looks. It's such a fun, easy way to customize some Christmas decor, and you can use this for any size nutcracker, by the way. This is one that I picked up from Five Below, and I think it was like $35, and I just removed the staff from its hand and then added a plastic champagne flute and just, again, cut that right in half, put it between the two, and boom, cute bar guitar or barware. Now for this next DIY, I'm going to be taking an old wreath that I have for the door, and we're just going to repurpose this. Now, I love to do this with wreath forms, especially ones that are as good as this one. I picked up this one from a yard sale for like $3 so many years ago, and I recycle this and use this all the time. Now, these bells, these did come from Hobby Lobby. You can find very similar bells that kind of look like cowbells at Dollar Tree, so this would absolutely work for that as well. Now, the idea here is that I'm going to have these bells kind of suspended in the center of the wreath, and I'm going to be using this green velvet ribbon to do that. But before I do that, I am going to go ahead and add these pine pieces here. Now these pine pieces have these pine cones and everything on them. And what I like about these is they've got a really good thickness to them. They've also got a very kind of sturdy stick on here. And what we're going to be doing is kind of just taking this and literally just kind of placing this directly into the wreath form itself. Now with this particular wreath form, because it is so thick, this one actually works out really nicely because I can take this and just kind of bend this and then just kind of manipulate it and stick it into some of those raffia pieces there. I did go ahead and trim this down just a little bit as well, kind of where I bent that, and then just literally fed it in between there. So this is super, super cool. Now we are going to go ahead and again, just kind of make this fit in there, make it kind of perfect, leaving a space in the center. Because what I want to do with that centerpiece is I really want to kind of highlight that green velvet ribbon and kind of make it look like the wreath form is kind of tied to there. Now, if you're having any issues with your pine, you can always, of course, use any kind of floral wire or anything. So the idea here is that you'll have this kind of bundle of ribbon that's wrapped around the center here with the bells kind of hanging, and then there'll be a bow on the top of this too, kind of make it look like it's been hanging there and it was kind of tied to the wreath form. Now, the one thing that I will say is for this, it does look a little wonky because I ended up having to do some of this off camera. So it may not flow exactly how you're thinking, but essentially what you're going to do is wrap some of your bow around the top and then kind of throw any excess around the tail on the back side. Then you're going to take your bells and you're going to kind of adjust the ribbon accordingly. And I just kind of tied them into knots at the top part of there. That way I could kind of play around with the heights and everything. And then I went back and kind of trimmed and then hot glued these down. Now, again, this was super awkward to film because I am kind of restricted here with the way that the camera is, but I think you'll get the idea, and I'll show it to you kind of when it's all done here of what it kind of ultimately ended up looking like. But this is kind of giving you the visual here. It kind of looks like those bells were kind of tied on top of there very intentionally. And then what I'll do is I'll take a bow and just kind of do a loose bow and just kind of tie it at the top there and then just hot glue that down. And then I did want to add a little bit of color. So I've got these kind of floral picks here, and I'm going to go ahead and just literally trim down that stem a little bit. And then I did add some hot glue into here. I'm not really sure if I'm loving the colored stem additions, to be honest, but they're super easy to remove if I have to remove them. I'm going to live with it for a little while. And actually, this wreath, believe it or not, is going to go to a neighbor of mine because I know she likes these gold bells and everything. And I know that she'll love this for her front door. And she's only borrowing it, though, because I'm getting my wreath form back. But this is what it looks like on my front door. Super beautiful. Really love the way that this one looked. I think it's perfect for the holidays, and I know she'll love borrowing this wreath from me. All right, you guys, now this wreath form is actually one that I made last year, and it needs some TLC. It's been up in the attic, and it was hanging on a wall in the attic, but it just needs some attention, and some of the pieces have fallen off. So we're going to kind of give this a little bit of a revamp and a little bit of a fluff. This was one that I saw on Anthropology, and they wanted like $125 or something like that for this wreath form. And I was like, there's no way. And so I was able to recreate this and make this. And I think I maybe spent $25 all in. I had the wreath form already. I went ahead and just flocked it. And then I'm adding these different little houses. Now the church steeple, or the church with the steeple, that is from Dollar Tree. The bottle brush are from, or the bottle brush trees are also from Dollar Tree. And then some of the other little houses that you're going to see in the barns and things, those did come from Walmart. And then again, I had that wreath form on hand. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of fluff these and just kind of apply glue and, you know, put some of these back on. Again, they'd just fallen off probably because of the heat in the attic and stuff. And then just, I'm sure it had to have been because of the temperature change. But anyway, this one turns out so beautiful. And this is my favorite wreath. This one stays on my door all the time. I do love this one a lot. And it's kind of perfect because I can loan my neighbor the other one. And then I have this gorgeous one for myself. All right, guys, also, before you go, if you made it this far, first of all, thank you. And I had the opportunity to drive these BMWs and mini cars, and we got to drive them around a speed track, and we got to drive them really aggressively. So I've included some footage from that because I thought you'd like to see it. All right, guys, happy holidays.
So the passenger was like, hey, let me get a picture. Honey?
Yeah.
You ready?
Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, I'd be terrified right now. Yeah. You ready? Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, I'd be terrified right now.